Day 3, we need your color crayon octopus, your watercolors, and we're going to need salt. Kosher salt is the best. It's a little chunkier kind of salt, but if you just have table salt, that will get the job done. Okay, so we're going to use that to make a cool watery pattern in our background. So I'm also going to use a slightly bigger brush than what comes in my kit. So if you have a little bit bigger brush and you don't want it too big, you may use it, but if you only have the one that's in the kit, that's totally fine. It will work. Okay, I'm preparing my watercolors. I'm dropping my water into it. I'm going to do a blue and a violet, a purple in the background. I want it nice and watery, and then we'll do warmer colors on the octopus, and that's really going to make it pop. But we need to start with the background, and I'm going to do a wet on wet technique. So I am just taking straight clean water, and I am so carefully bumping right up next to my octopus, almost like I'm drawing a line with my paintbrush. Do not let the water get into the octopus body, otherwise you're going to have purple and blue in there, and we do not want that. So once I do my outline, I'll grab more water and then I'll just fill in this big section. And I'm going to work section at a time because I need to put the salt onto it while it's still pretty wet. That's an important step. So spread your water around. And now this wet on wet technique is going to let us put some color onto that water that we just painted. And the water is going to grab that paint and help to move it around. This is a great way to paint a really large area because it goes a lot faster. You might have to help the paint a little bit. It doesn't always cooperate. I'm going to wash my brush really well, and I'm going to go to my next color. I'm going to grab the blue. I'm going to put some blue over here. So you can see if I put it on, that water starts to sort of grab it, help it move around. I don't have to be quite as careful. And where the purple and the blue touch, they're going to start to mingle and blend together, which is what I'm hoping for. And if it's not blending as much as you want, you can add a little bit more water onto it. You can coax it with your paintbrush. You can go back and forth. So I'm just playing with these two colors, the purple and the blue. And I want, you can see I'm almost creating a third, like a blue-violet color, a third color in there. Okay, once you're happy with it, you're going to take some of your salt and you're just going to sprinkle it on top of the wet part that you just painted. Sprinkle it on there. Now salt, as you know, when you eat it, it makes you really thirsty. That's because it soaks up moisture, just like that. So by sprinkling this salt onto our wet watercolor, it is actually going to start to grab some of the moisture, and it's going to create a really cool watery looking texture. It's really cool. So we'll let that start to do its thing, and I'm going to go ahead and speed up my video and just paint using those two colors, and you're just going to see me occasionally stop and go ahead and put my salt on my painting, because again, it needs to be pretty wet for that salt to do its job. If it doesn't seem like the salt is doing anything at all, then I might go ahead and just add a little more water onto the area where you're going to put the salt so that that salt can work its magic. So you can see I'm sprinkling. I'm not dumping the salt on. I'm putting some in my hand, and then I'm just almost like you're making a pizza and you're sprinkling some spices on top. You just want to sprinkle. All right, looking good. This is going to be so pretty. And my last corner, a little more salt on there. All right, this looks so pretty. You can already see some of the pattern that's going on. Look right over here. Can you see that? It's soaking up that color and that water and making these little splotches. I love it. Okay, piece of advice. I suggest you let this dry, maybe 15, 20 minutes. Let this start to set up and dry some more before you start to paint your octopus. You don't want the colors to blend together. We don't want the warm colors to get confused and go visit those cool colors in the background. So take a little break, have a snack, watch a TV show, do some homework, something. And now we're back. The magic of video. This is dry. I tilted it on its side and I let all the salt shake off. So you want to have the salt off of it and you just see this pattern left. If some of your salt is stuck, just leave it. Just leave it alone. Don't try to rip it off. You don't want to tear your paper. Okay, this is dry enough for me to go forward. So now it is time to paint my octopus. We will not be putting any salt on our octopus. We want him to look solid and we want his skin to look very different than the background. But one thing we do want to do is maybe play with a little bit of shading. And we can do that by using more than one color. So I'm starting with the orange. I'm going to fill in a section here. And while this is still wet, I wish there wasn't such a glare on my video, but I want to give it some curve. So I'm going to grab more orange and I'm going to make this top part a little bit darker. So I want those edges to be a little bit darker. And then clean my brush off. And now on this side where I have all those little dots we made, I'm going to play with either some yellow or some red because those two colors are in orange, so they're going to blend really nicely. So I'm going to put a little bit of red on this side and wrap it around. See what's happening there? It starts to make it look a little more curved. It starts to look a little more 3D. So I'm going to put this darker red wherever I have the orange spots. The bulk of my octopus will be just the orange color. And I do want there to be nice transitions from, light orange to dark orange to red. So you want to run your brush back and forth so you kind of mix them together. Okay. All right, these two legs in the back, do not use the orange and the red on those. Save those because those are on the back side. They're underneath. They're a little more in shadow, so we're going to do something different to those. So let's just go ahead and work on the rest of the octopus, his legs. Remember, wherever there is crayon, that is where you're going to want to grab some of that red and make that curve wherever the crayon marks are a little bit more red. And be sure and move your paintbrush back and forth between the orange and the red so that they blend in together. All right, I am happy with how he looks. And now it's time to go after those legs that are showing from the underneath. I want to create a little more of a shadow, and I want them to be a little darker, a little deeper in color. So I'm going to go ahead and lay some red onto the bottom part of these legs. And I'm going to do that for both of them. So already they're standing out a little bit next to the orange, because right now there is not any orange in them. They are just red. And then in order to create that shadow to make them look like we're seeing the underneath, or they're kind of a little further back, we're going to need to add a color we haven't used yet for our octopus. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a little blue, and I'm just going to lay that really uptight close to the octopus body, to the other legs. So it's really creating that shadow. And then I'm going to run my brush between the two colors so I can get that blue and the red to mix. Do you remember what color blue and red makes? Violet or purple. Yes, it does. So that's going to work out nicely. Those are two colors that blend into each other very well. Now I'm realizing in my video, this is really making it look very, very dark, almost like black. In real life, it is not that dark, but I am going to pull that blue all the way down. I want it mostly blue up by the octopus, and then it becomes this violet color in the middle. And I'm going to pull that violet down a little bit to the end of these legs. We have definitely given the feeling that these legs are towards the back of our creature. I just want that transition to be nice, so you can see I keep fiddling with it. I'm going back and forth between pulling more blue down into the red and pulling more red up into the blue. All right, let's do those eyes. I want these eyes to pop. So I'm going to use green and just the very tippy tip of my paintbrush, and just do right around the middle of the eye. Very nice. That green's going to pop next to all these other colors. All right, this is awesome. Time to let it dry. Don't touch it. We'll come back tomorrow for part 4.